Yo, what's good my fellow Magic Knights? It's your boy DEADMANVINCE back with yet another JJK Phantom Parade video. Today we're actually going to be doing a showcase for Blue Gojo. So guys, I actually was kind of holding off on showcases until I got to a character to that level that I felt like was like good enough. And I feel like Gojo is good enough for me to like showcase. And I noticed a lot of people were doing showcases on the Japanese version, which I don't think anything is wrong with that. I just think that that's 6 months out at the very least. So global players don't really have an opportunity to get a hold on that until 6 months later. And honestly, you're probably just going to be doing those showcases again because nobody's going to remember. Everybody's going to want a video for that again. So I'm going to do a showcase on the global version because it just kind of makes sense, because this is the level that we are able to reach right now. But for Gojo, the skills that I chose to work on first and foremost was his skill 1 and his ultimate. And his skill is his skill 3 actually came in after the fact. It was his skill 1, his ultimate just at first. But basically, the reason why I do not level Gojo's skill 1 or skill 2 is because it is based off of taijutsu and not jujutsu. So what you'll notice here is that Gojo's jujutsu, no, that's taijutsu. Taijutsu and jujutsu are literally the exact same number, which would confuse you and make you think that Gojo just scales off of them evenly. But if you come here and look at his skills, you'll see every single time that you level up, and let me pull up the wiki as well for extra confirmation, just what the number was at start. But you realize that every single time you level up the Jujutsu move, it levels up by 20.3%, and every time you level up the Taijutsu move, it only levels up by 14.8%. Not to mention, the skill 1 starts at 275% damage, and the skill 2 starts at 200% damage. So already the skill 2 is actually lower damage than the skill 1, and also once you get it all the way up to level 10, it remains lower, and it gets just way lower than what it originally was, because at first it was 75% below. Now right here it's 124% below, 124.5% below. So I typically don't touch this move too much. I will circle back and hit this move. The way that I work on characters is I figure out what moves I'm prioritizing, and then like whatever moves are left over, I'll come back around and work on those skills after I've worked on every other character's important skills, right? So for Masamichi, for instance, his buff skill, his skill 2 is obviously the most important skill, but his skill 3 and his ultimate can be good because they are debuffs. So I'm going to go ahead and just take the chance and work on those whenever I do get to Masamichi and his skills. But the skill 1 for Masamichi is literally just a melee attack, so I'm not really going to worry too much about it, and I'll circle back around once all the character skills that need to be up are up. Also, Gojo's ultimate works off of Jujutsu damage completely, and whenever you do this down here, he does 944% Jujutsu damage once more, right? And obviously there's not gear or anything for your characters in the game, but when I say build him towards cursed energy, like obviously give him a recollection bit or something like that gives him more cursed energy. Level his skills that work on cursed energy. This skill is actually really incredible right here. It's starting to get fun. This one increases his damage dealt by 75%. This one's really good because it's just damage dealt in general, whether it be crit damage, jujutsu, physical, whatever, it doesn't matter. All damage dealt will be higher, and I actually have this skill to level 10 now. So now this skill gives me 124.5% increase to damage dealt. It stacks up to 3 times, or it says 3 turns, which means that on the 3rd turn that you use it with Gojo, the 1st stack would go away and the 2nd stack would come back. So yes, you can stack it up to 2 times. Pretty much to figure out how many times you can stack a skill, literally just look at how many turns it says it's there and then subtract 1 turn. That is how many times you can stack it. Unless you're talking about like Masamichi buffing Gojo, then Gojo can literally stack up to 4 times, because the turns before the turn is over and the last stack leaves on Gojo or something, it's still going to be there when he gets the 4th buff from Masamichi within that turn. But let's go back to the game and talk about recollection bit. My Gojo is full grade 8. He was the first person on fully grade 8. That's, I mean, obviously what you want to do here. Focus on your grades. You already know it gives you stats, it gives you skill, or not skills, it gives you stats, it gives you levels, and it increases his no, this is literally just curse technique and physical technique. It's just even whenever it's this, and then when it's this, it's more so curse technique. When it's that, it's more so physical technique. Okay. Then also his passive right here, his auto skill is going to be when battle starts, applies emergency to self for 7 turns, which means that after 7 turns, Gojo will be leaving. So in some parts of this showcase, I will be putting Gojo in so I'm going to do domain investigation as part of this, and I'm not going to put Gojo in the first room just because I want him to be in the last room, because that's where it's the hardest and that's where I want you guys to see him perform. And then limitless curse technique. When battle starts, applies an attack nullification to self. Then also I have him awakening 3. So guys, every character in the game typically gets stats right here on awakening 1. Then they get 10 cursed energy, initial cursed energy on awakening 2. That doesn't matter for Gojo because his cursed energy is literally infinite, it's limitless. So he doesn't have any like thing like that because all of his skills cost 1 cursed energy. So giving him more starting cursed energy literally would not change him at all. So instead of getting extra cursed energy on the level up 2, he just gets more stats. My Gojo is all the way down to 3-star or grade 3 or not grade 3, rank 3. There we go. So he's getting plus 40% to his stats. And also applies 16% break damage increase to self and cooperator with a cooperative ultimate for 2 turns. Deals ranged attack damage to all enemies equal to 116.8 of Jujutsu. So I think there's actually a typo on the website, because if you look on the website, it says he does 94.4% Jujutsu to all enemies with the break effect. But none of these say 94.4% at all. Huh. Yeah, and honestly, it says increase own and combo. Oh, matter of fact, it might have said 94.4% whenever this mail is like 0-star. It doesn't show no dupes. So maybe that's what it was, but yeah, that's definitely a typo. I have 3 recollection bits that I constantly been switching out for Gojo. One of them, when I got it, I just stuck to that one. Another one, I kind of used it first just because, you know, I had it. And then the third one is literally a free-to-play option. So I think that's how I'm going to try to split up the recollection bits for any showcase. The one that I actually do think is just 100% for the character, the one that also works for the character, and then the one that you can get for free to play that definitely works for the character as well. So first I'll go over the free to play one. So the free to play page is going to be Satoru Gojo's solo camping, right? This one right here increases if you use a command skill or an ultimate, so you can use any skill with this. Applies 65% damage dealt increase to self for 1 turn, and it can be used again after 6 turns. The main one that I like to use with Gojo is actually another one that can only be used after 6 turns, so this one's kind of similar. It's just not going to be given as much as a damaged buff, right? But then this right here, when turn starts, if self's HP is more than 50%, and can only be used. This can only be once in battle. Applies cursed energy efficiency increase to self for 3 turns. So this is where this one kind of falls off for Gojo, because 1, Gojo doesn't really need any more cursed energy efficiency. His shit literally already costs 1, and your skills can't go down to costing 1/2. And even if they could, it wouldn't matter. Gojo already has so much cursed energy by the point in the battle that you're using this. But also, it's very hard for Gojo to lose HP. The only time I've seen Gojo lose HP is when he's literally taking on a domain. That is the only time. Other than that, Gojo's literally just guarding or nullifying attacks and then just leaving in 7 turns. So Gojo's health doesn't hit a 50% point. It just isn't there anymore because he just leaves. So this one's okay for Gojo, but it's just a free-to-play option in case you don't have anything else really that you think you can put on him. Second page, and this is the one that I was actually using when I first started playing because I did not have the first page I'm going to talk about. This one right here is called Adult Time. I actually use this one on like Mechamaru now. I always use this on my secondary DPS now, unless I already have a specific page for them. The SR characters are a little more loosey-goosey with the pages, so I don't really have things predicated to them just yet. Triggered upon using command skill or an ultimate skill, applies 70% damage dealt increase to self for 1 turn, 1 time, for a total of 6 turns. And they don't really have to put the 1 turn, 1 time thing on pages because typically these pages are coming back after like hella turns. So it doesn't matter to put 1 time up here. But another 70% damage buff. The last card was 65%, but let's see the second part of this card to see if it's really worth it. When self lands a critical hit, applies 10% critical hit increase to all allies for 2 turns. So this right here isn't a active part of it. This is just kind of like a passive part of it. Every time the character hits a crit, everybody else on your team gets crit rate increase for 2 turns, which isn't that bad actually. It's kind of nice for everybody to get a crit rate increase, but I just feel like the next page I'm about to go over just gives Gojo alone such a crazy buff that, like, even though Gojo's kind of giving other people a buff with this one, it's kind of whatever. But no, this one is still good for your secondary DPS. Like, this is still a good page, don't get me wrong. I can see how it could fall off maybe in the future if you start to get a bunch of units that have a lot of high crit rates, but like, is crit rate even a stat in this game? Anyway, y'all should have known. It was sitting at the top of the damn account box. So, you know, 5-star and everything, nearly level 80. But guys, this is non-standard. This is the main page that I use for Gojo actually. So this right here only can be activated when using an ultimate skill. Applies 85% curse technique increase to self for 1 turn, 1 time, can be used again after 6 turns. So you can see all the ones that I use for Gojo can be used again after 6 turns. They're all just like big damage buffs. The first one was damage dealt, the second one was damage dealt. This one is cursed energy specifically. So it all funnels into cursed energy, which I think maybe work a little bit better for Gojo. But 85% is the highest buff we've seen at all. And granted, this one is only 85% because I got it up to the 3-star point. That's how the SSR pages work. You get them to the 1-star point, you unlock the second half of them. You get them to the 3-star point, the first half of them upgrades. So, and also the level cap goes up every level. So I can get this to level 80 and honestly, only 73 right now. I'm not gonna waste any stamina trying to get anything mid-showcase. But 85% boost to curse technique if you don't have the 2nd star, or if you don't have this 3-star, then this is just the 80% boost to curse technique. And then this right here, when a wave starts, recovers 200 ultimate gauge for self. And I noticed that sometimes whenever I hop into a fight and Gojo just joins into the fight, right, he just gets a big jump to curse energy. So it's really nice. It's actually really good. But now let's hop over to some actual content and start to see how Gojo performs in missions. So guys, I decided to come to the story and just do chapter 9-11 because, you know, the story mode is actually somewhat difficult as content, and I know people get stuck on it sometimes. So I'm just gonna use Gojo in here and just see how hard he can dominate it. Because one of the points that I try to make to people is that Gojo will carry your account for a very long time. Literally, if you just get your Gojo worked up, you know, you have nothing to worry about. So I want to use Gojo here in the story mission to show you guys, like, literally one of the main contents that you are going to be doing every single time you play the game, or you should at least be trying to work towards every time you play the game if you haven't beaten it all the way yet. You know, Gojo is very, very useful for this content. And we're just going to choose a random friend because I need to get my friend points in. So guys, this fight is only 1 room, which is most optimal opportunity for Gojo because Gojo is somebody who leaves in 7 turns. So you want to try and get, if you're not in the last room when you start off the mission, so if it's like a wave 1 out of 3 type of thing, you want to make sure that you are killing the rooms as fast as possible. But if you're doing something where it's like Gojo in the team versus 1 room, then you can kind of take your time and chill with Gojo a little bit, try to build him up and everything. So we're gonna buff with Masamichi and start building up that ultimate gauge with the page here. Then we're gonna buff with Yaga as well. And then we're gonna use the cursed energy boosting, not for Gojo, but for these other 2 here, Yaga and Masamichi. What? That's the same person. Yaga and Nanami, so that they can keep pushing their ultimate, or not ultimates, keep pushing their buff skills. Because as long as you can keep them buff skills going constantly, then Gojo's going to be looking real menacing. But also, this man Kaito is there to do a combo ult with Gojo. Ooh, that was a lot of damage to start, huh? Kaito's there to do a lot of do a combo ultimate with Gojo. So hopefully he lives for that. Okay. Okay. Wow. That's fine. We're going to do this. And then do this, and then do this one more time, and then do this. He's gonna attack Kaito? No. Oh, they left Kaito alone? Alright, cool. So Nanami's dead, but I'm gonna buff here. And then I'll just buff with Nobara because I want the damage to be fully Gojo and fully Kaito. But guys, before we jump into the, ooh, I almost forgot to use that. That's an extra 85% curse technique boost. But guys, before we hop into this ultimate here, so we have 41.8% taijutsu from Yaga, 41.8% jujutsu from Yaga, 1 turn left on it. We still have a buff from Nanami actually, even though he already died. We have 2 more Yaga buffs. We have another buff from Nanami. We have 1 buff from Gojo himself, 2 more Yaga buffs, and then a buff from Gojo. So 2 of Gojo's own buff, 3 of Yaga's buffs, and 2 Nanami buffs. No, Nanami's buffs last for 3 turns, but he's been dead a turn already. So yeah, just 2 of Nanami's buffs. So let's go ahead and let this rip and see what happens. Oh, Gojo just killed everything. What's crazy is this boss actually is hard. Like, this boss has a lot of health, but I guess Gojo is just too crazy for it at this point, bro. Yeah, that's how you one-tap a room, I guess. What's the total damage we're looking at? Like, Gojo's dupes are, I feel like, really important. Just, dude, all the numbers jumble together. They gotta have a better UI for whenever you win at the end, like, showing how much damage a character has done. But quite literally, y'all just saw Gojo absolutely slap that entire enemy room. So, Nanami died, but that's perfectly fine. Typically, the way that a Gojo team functions is, buff him as much as you can, and, like, if Nanami would have died turn 1 and I didn't get those extra buffs out with him, maybe it would have been chopped. But since Nanami died so much later on into the battle, I had enough buffs from him to get Gojo set up properly, and then Gojo was ready to just do what he had to do regardless. And plus, guys, remember with story missions, you do not need 3-star clears, you just need to win. So that was a very successful run. Now we'll jump into something different. All right, guys, the next thing that we're going to jump into, so I haven't actually started the JJK0 event. It's here for 32 days though, and I want to save starting it for stream. So we're going to jump into Where Shadows Fall, and we're gonna come in and do this formidable battle here, and I'm actually gonna do the highest difficulty stage, just because I tried to do like all the content forms that are out. So I'll do a little story mode here, a little story or map event there, you know, some formidable foe, maybe some domain investigation. So now I just want you guys to get a full showcase of how the character works everywhere. But now let's go ahead and come in here to this Chimera Shadow Garden, or not Chimera Shadow Garden, but I actually be back. I gotta farm the stage like one time to get myself to 20 of these, and then we'll be in the stage, guys. We're probably gonna be using the same team also, so don't be alarmed. All right, guys, I got enough to do 2 runs just in case this boss doesn't die in one go, because this boss is a bit tanky, and Gojo is not type advantage. And honestly, Gojo may be type disadvantage, but we'll see. All right, guys, so here we are against the boss. We're gonna go with the same like strategy. This boss is a little more forgiving. They don't hit you as much at the start, I don't think. Or maybe I'm confusing myself because I've used Inamaki in here before, and he's prevented the boss from hitting me. Let's do this. Like, I could hit with Gojo on the first turn there, but honestly, I just feel like his damage isn't really going to be impressive enough to, like, reason it out. So I'm just... And every little bit of damage does count, yes. But I just like to stack them up as nice and as crazy as possible. Oh, dude. I just realized I don't work until tomorrow night. I am kind of chilling today. Yeah, see, this boss is a little more forgiving. He just poisons, which... The poison is a little annoying, but it's a lot better than actually just running and waxing your units and shit. So guys, if you want to use an attack with Gojo before you start buffing, that is completely fine to do. But once you start buffing with Gojo, I don't like to do an attack in between unless I'm set up for the huge attack. So now we're gonna buff one more time, buff again. We're gonna do this ultimate here. And by the way, guys, this ultimate at level 7 out of 10, it applies 107.9% curse technique increase to all allies other than self for 1 time in 3 turns. That's why we use Kaito and Gojo in combination, because Gojo increases his break damage on the combo skill effect. Kaito decreases his self and allies damage received by 10% on combo ultimate, which is really not that crazy for Gojo, but I'm willing to overlook it just because he gives himself break damage. And the buff, I could put Kaito anywhere in the rotation, honestly, but I just kind of leave the buffers together, because whenever they both get their skills, Nanami, their ultimates, Masamichi literally debuffs an enemy, and then Nanami buffs the team. So let's do this to see how much damage Gojo does. I didn't even check Gojo's buffs. I should have, but I mean, I checked his buffs the last fight we did, so y'all kind of get the idea. Nanami's not dead this time either, so there actually should be an extra buff from Nanami in the mix as well. So not even half health. That's a bit unfortunate, but it's okay. I'd say that's probably the one thing about my Gojo. He doesn't crit very often. We're gonna keep buffing until I get Masamichi and Nanami's ultimate together, but we are just gonna go ahead and start. Ooh. Because Gojo's probably going to end up leaving here. So let's see. 1, 2. So this man has 3 buffs from Nanami and Yaga each. But he only has 1 buff from himself, which is an extra 125% damage. I think I'd rather stack up his shit one more time here for a really crazy turn, because that 125 is going to go away next turn, right? So I buff up here. But I think that last 125 that I had was only for the 1 turn left. So yeah, so this one's for 2 turns because I just did it. So yeah, I'm gonna buff again. I'll buff one more time with everybody. This one boosts health, right? No, that's ultimate gauge. That's fine. And then I'll buff one more time with Gojo. And then I will ult with both of these two. So this is gonna increase everybody's damage dealt by 30%, I believe. No, 17.1%. This increases everybody's damage dealt by 30%. Then Masamichi is debuffing, of course. We're gonna hit this, and then we're gonna hit a single target with Gojo and see what we get. Nanami does some surprisingly good damage right here. Typically, he does more damage than I expect. I can actually see the enemy's like health bar move when he does an attack, which I never think would happen with an SR not type advantage character. But hey, Nanami does impress for sure. Gojo, good. We get another break. That was all I was really worried about. So guys, even though Gojo left the fight, you can see that he was a very integral piece of the fight. He broke the enemy in the first place. He got the health bar all the way down to halfway, or a little over. Then he literally broke the enemy a second time to give me this opportunity right now to start buffing up my Nobar and start to make her powerful for this as well. So we're going to just do this, and then we're going to do this. I want to buff up Nobar a little bit before I use Kaito's ultimate, just so she has the buff for as long as possible. Actually, no. Let's buff her here, and then let's go ahead and do this now. And then I'm honestly just going to do this before the enemy is like not broken anymore, because when the enemy is in a break status, they take more damage. Like, obviously Nobar's not going to do anywhere near Gojo damage, which is crazy. I actually have a secondary account that I worked on, and I have domain expansion for Shiguro, and his damage is actually pretty impressive. But guys, that's it for this run right here. But you can see how much health that we took away. Gojo basically did all this health on his own. So 2.7 million damage. I would take away probably, at most, I'd take away 300k damage. So Gojo by himself did like 2.4 million in here, and the boss's health is like 3 million. So I'd say Gojo performs pretty damn well in here, especially considering if this boss was type disadvantage against Gojo, Gojo would have definitely taken more health on that ultimate, and Gojo probably would have killed before he even disappeared. But now let's move into the next content. All right, guys, the next content that I have up is Formidable Foe. So I'm gonna be doing one of these fights here because I've beaten all of these all the way through. So I feel like this would be a good test to figure out, you know, one, does Deadman really know what he's doing? Two, how can I make these characters work? But I will be doing the Formidable Foe against Jogo just because, you know, story canon. But I will say before I do this, guys, if you come to your profile and you look at your titles, they have what are called secret titles all the way down here. And the one of the secret titles that you can get from doing this stage is intelligence is always supplied, right? But very special caveat: clear Formidable Foe versus Jogo with only Gojo on your team. It does not matter what difficulty, but it has to be just Gojo on your team. No one else is allowed to be there. So I'm going to go ahead and try to do that again. I've obviously done it before, but I'm going to try to do that again for you guys. Just I thought it'd be cool for the Gojo showcase specifically. Probably won't be able to do this with any other character that comes out unless it's like another Gojo in the future. But I just wanted to do this because I thought it'd be cool. All right, guys. So we're going to fight Jogo, and we're just going to fight him on the first difficulty level. And you can see his CP is 30k, but like I said, don't let CP fool you, don't let CP scare you or nothing. We're gonna take this team apart and I'll be right back. Alright guys, so we got Gojo here with his non-standard page at 5-star. He's a 3-star. I'm feeling pretty confident about this run, especially because I've done it before. So let's go ahead and just hop right into this. Alright, Jogo's backstory is not important. So we're just gonna, we're gonna do an attack. So basically the way that this works is you have to buff like 3 turns in a row. When you buff like 3 turns in a row, Gojo's ultimate fills up. You drop Gojo's ultimate. Hopefully you break this man's, break his guard. Once you break his guard, his domain goes away, which is good because his domain is literally going to be giving you passive damage the entire time. This is what I was talking about earlier in the video when I said Gojo can only take damage from a domain. So we're going to get a hit first. That's because I want to start buffing, but the buff is not going to stack 3 times. It's only going to stack up to 2 times. So I can take that first turn to kind of take some freedom and hit this man first. Then we buff on the second turn. And then we buff a third time, or we buff for turn 3. And then literally after this turn, I'm just going to drop my ultimate on him. All right. And I took a little bit of his health and his break gauge away. So this should theoretically definitely break his bar. Let's do this. Plus, the last time I did this, my Gojo was 2-star, so now he's 3-star. So let's see. We get the breakage, and we get half health, hopefully. More than half health is what I need. Oh, okay, yeah. That looks like it'll work. But you can see, we break him, his domain goes away, and now he's not doing crazy damage to me every single turn. And then we're just going to swat him away with Gojo these last 2 turns, 3 turns. It usually takes 3 turns after you get that first little break on him. But yeah, guys, that's Formidable Foe. I know this was probably what you expected to be the longest part, and it was the fastest part. So honestly, I'm just gonna go ahead and do Domain Investigation, because that's a very important game mode, and I had some people commenting on my videos that they're still struggling with that actually. So let's go ahead and go into that. Alright guys, so we're here in Domain Investigation, and the thing about Domain Investigation today is I really need to get one of these crystals right here, but I'm definitely not buying it with my materials, or I need to get the shards that allow me to create a piece. So I need to get one of these right here, because I have 5 of those, and I would love to be able to create one more giant crystal so that I can get Gojo's ultimate to level 9, because Gojo's skill 1 and his skill 3, his buff skill, they're both level 10. I just need that ultimate level 10, and I can finally start pushing on the next character skills. But we have 1 day left on double drops on this as well, so definitely want to make sure I'm getting this in. But guys, we have double drops every weekend until the next year, honestly. Every Friday, or every Saturday and Sunday, we have double drops until the next year starts. So low-key, we're kind of covered in that department. And guys, if you want to, you could even let your Domain Investigation load up to 3 chances, right, over the week, and do it enough times so that it's not just sitting there, right? So keep it at 2 during the week. But once it becomes like Friday or something like that, let it charge up a little bit so you can do 3 runs back to back in the double drop time. Just think about that, process that with me for a second, chat. But we're gonna go into the domain of chaos, and I'm gonna be real with you guys. I really need these stones, and I really do trust Gojo, but let's be real, Gojo is only out for 7 turns. So I'm not going to use Gojo in the first 2 rooms. I'm going to use Gojo in the last 3 rooms just to give myself a very good chance of making it through this with Gojo in the last room and just winning in general, because I need to win this. Like, even though I can beat this, it's not like I'm just easy power scaling, power clearing this every time. Like, no, I actually still have to be kind of careful because the CP jumps up to like 54k like towards the end of this. So guys, I'll meet you in room 3 actually. All right, y'all, we're in room 3. And in hindsight, what I think I should have done was put Gojo in the first room to build his ultimate, put him back in the back line, and then switch him back in for right now so I can just instant ult in this room. But honestly, I'm not playing with that turn counter, man. So we're gonna go in like this. Wait. Like this. And yeah, we're gonna let Gojo take the rest of the show away. He has 7 turns, so let's go ahead and get to it. But yeah, I should have definitely worked up his ultimate beforehand, but I didn't want him to be at like 5 turns or nothing. I wanted him to have all 7 of his turns here. So we're gonna buff, and then I'll do this, and literally we're just gonna guarantee like kill somebody, I'm pretty sure. With Gojo here. You? Let's see if it's a guaranteed kill. Gojo hasn't caught a single buff this entire time. Yeah, cool. So I have a very good idea. We're gonna build this up. We're just gonna single target everybody in the rest of this room here, and wait for a really good next room. Buff, do this. Okay. So we're gonna move into room 4, and I'm gonna use. It depends on how many enemies. If there's more than 2 enemies, probably gonna drop Gojo's ultimate. If there's only 2 enemies, I'll drop Masamichi and Yaga's ultimate in a way where I can kill them both. But let's see. I haven't gotten any of those little shards to create the SSR crystal for skills yet, by the way, chat. Yeah, honestly, they made a little system where you could. Okay, there's only 2 enemies. Good. And Gojo's type advantage. I know what I'll be doing. But I know I just said if there's 2 enemies, I'll use Nanami and Yaga. But honestly, Gojo's type advantage, I want to see the damage as well. I want to be a flexer. But buff. Do this to recover your cursed energy right after. Do this because, guys, another little cheat code. The pages reset each room. So like even though non-standard says it takes 6 turns, if I go into the next room, Gojo's page will be ready to go again. Cool. That was like 800k on both, I think. Which isn't that bad because his enemy are way stronger than Gojo. So he did 900k to both. He did nearly 1 million to both enemies, and literally their combat power is like 54 or something, 55 or some shit. And then we're in the last room here. And yes, guys, it would have been better to save Gojo's ultimate for the last room, but I kind of want to. This is the reverse kind of situation of what I was talking about with Gojo, where instead of you being in just like one final room and trying to just kill the enemy and take your time charging up Gojo and everything, build him up, this is something where you kind of got to be a little more rapid fire, just using Gojo's skills, so you don't have as much time to build him up. Plus, buffs don't carry over room to room, so you shouldn't worry that much about building him up. So this enemy in the back likes to put on evasion, so we'll debuff you, and then we will damage dealt buff with this, and then I'll do this, and I'll hit one of you. I'll hit you because you like to do the evasion and shit. So we just turned their 2 single targets into AoEs because we decided to hit 2 different enemies. So we got that one, and then Nanami's back here on this one, actually doing damage. Dude, that Nanami's kind of fire. I feel like I'm going to be very surprised by that Nanami. Surprising. I feel like I'm going to be positively surprised. That's not the way you say it. I'm gonna be surprised by that Nanami though, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so Yaga just died. Oh, that's actually kind of clean. I wanted Mekamaru out. We're gonna buff with Nanami one more time. Very unfortunate that Masamichi died actually, because his buff is much better than Nanami. But since Gojo's leaving in the next turn here, I thought why not go ahead and just give him a damage dealt buff for this last little turn he's gonna be alive. Now, we're gonna Ultra Cannon, we're gonna buff once more, we're gonna use this, and then we're gonna use non-standard, gonna let that ult rip. And okay, so Gojo doesn't kill everybody, but I assume I at least get a break on both of them. Okay, so Gojo kills one, he gets 1.2 million. The other one I didn't see the damage, but he does get a break on them. And like, guys, Gojo is, even though not just like absolutely winning this by himself right now, that's not the point. The point is when we brought Gojo in, the tide of battle drastically changed. It became very different. This one, Gojo didn't really get to do as much because he only had a few turns, you know, like I couldn't really build up to the degree that I wanted to, and Yaga died as well, but like Gojo still did his thing while he was in here. But I hope that gave you guys an idea of how Gojo looks whenever he's in a room where it's just one room and, you know, you give him the full treatment that you want to give him, versus Gojo is in a situation where you can't really build up with him as much as you want to. You got to think on your feet. You got to just kind of like keep pushing out damage and stuff. Like I just wanted to simulate both of those situations for you. But Nanami doing solid damage again here. Unfortunately, Nanami doesn't work scaled off of cursed energy. I think his is more so physical energy. I think the one who works off of cursed energy, it's not even cursed energy. It's like cursed and physical energy. Hybrid. Let's do this. I would say Nanami can still buff even though he's got the cloud, right? And then, wow, Mekamaru was our saving grace, but it's okay. We got these 2 for damage right here, so we still win. But nah, that man got tired of Mekamaru putting in that work. He said, this is a Gojo showcase, bro. Get this Chad out of here too. But guys, that's gonna be it for the Gojo showcase. Again, this is not supposed to be like a, yo, beat all of these things this way. I didn't get any stones at all for making that SSR crystal, damn it. But this is not supposed to be a play the game this way or anything like that. This is just supposed to be a showcase for Gojo and my experience of using Gojo. And like for instance, me doing the Formidable battle with just Gojo on my team, like that was just me kind of having fun with it. I still gotta have fun with it, man. But I hope that you guys enjoyed this showcase. I will have my fingers crossed and hope that I pull Yuta so that I can do the same type of showcase for him, man. But if you guys did enjoy, then please do go down below and smack that like button, because I actually had a very good time doing this. Peace out.